So I've made a few videos in the past where I talked about problems with people of various other personality types joining an online group for a specific type, either Enneagram or MBTI, to seek help for their problems with a particular person of that type. And one of my biggest pet peeves about that is when it's clearly a problem that has nothing to do with personality types. Like, this person has a drinking problem, or this person's abusive, this person is depressed all the time, this person has no sex drive. You know, things where they should really be seeking help from experts in those problems instead of an MBTI group or an Enneagram group. But I've been noticing something kind of interesting lately, in particular in the Enneagram Type 9 groups. And it's not necessarily exclusive to Type 9s, but, I mean, I'm a 9, I'm in the 9 groups, so, I'm just going to talk up from a Type 9 perspective. These people of other types come into the 9 group and they talk about the problems, usually a spouse or, romantic partner. And the Type 9 person's behavior that they describe makes no sense to me. It could be something like, I tried to have a calm, rational discussion about our budget with my Type 9 husband, and he just sighed and walked away. Or my Type 9 husband has a bunch of unfinished projects and leaves messes around the house, and I keep tripping over his messes, and I tell him about it, and he just says not to worry about it, even while I'm clearly in pain. And most of the people in the Type 9 groups will comment like, oh, he sounds like he must be an unhealthy Type 9. And then, just give some general advice about, like, just try to be supportive and encouraging, or find out if he's depressed about something. A lot of them are INFPs, and so they try to just, like, guess all the different possibilities. Me, I'm an ISTP. I just recognize it for there's not enough information here for me to know what's really going on. So, what I suspect is, in a lot of these cases, we're just not getting the full story because we're not hearing this from the Type 9 person's perspective. And I would bet that more often than not, if we were somehow able to hear the 9 side of the story, it would paint a totally different picture from what the person who's posting is describing. And in fact, I would bet that if we were to hear the 9 side of the story, it would make that 9 seem way more relatable to us, if not justified. And like I said, this could apply to most other types, especially introverts, maybe Type 6s, Type 5s. But the thing that's especially true with Type 9s is we often just keep our feelings to ourselves, in order to avoid conflict. So I think in a lot of these cases, the issue stems from something that the Type 9 person is experiencing that the person seeking help from us is, just has no clue about. It could be something about the situation, that only the Type 9 is aware of, that the other person has never seen or hasn't thought about, and, the 9 just kind of kept it to himself, and is just choosing to deal with it in his own way. Or it could be that the person seeking our help is behaving in some way that they're just not aware of, that's bothering the 9, or just, or they're just creating their own problem and passing the blame off to the 9. But there's just no way for us to know any of this when it's not the 9 talking to us. So when this happens, when I see a post like this in the groups, my advice to them is usually to seek some kind of third-party help. Someone, that both you and the 9 trust. Unfortunately, I realize in a lot of these cases you don't have that, and that's unfortunate. In some cases, that third party would ideally be like a marriage counselor or something similar. And also, that's not always possible if the other person is not interested in counseling, or, just doesn't think you need it, or, maybe you can't afford it or whatever. But the reason I see that, that is the ideal solution, though, is just because then, that third party advisor would get both sides of the story and be able to get the full picture of what's really going on, assuming both sides are telling the truth. If they're not, then that's a whole different issue. But if it is the case that the 9 is just seeing the situation from a different point of view that's not being expressed by the other person, I would think that the nine would welcome a third party mediator or a counselor to get his or her perspective on the table that wasn't there before. But if the nine is not interested in resolving the issue, in other words, if the nine doesn't think there's an issue at all, well, then, like I've said in another past video, it means it's really just your issue, and you have to find help for dealing with it yourself. That's a political point, but I can't fix it without the nine's help. The nine is the cause of this problem. I'm suffering because of what the nine is doing. Then get out of there. If the nine is, if it's dangerous, if it's a dangerous living situation because of the nine, then leave. Or threaten to leave. Or get someone else to fix the problem for you, even if it costs money. And then if the nine gets mad, then say, well, hey, you're not doing your part in fixing this. Or, and this is why I suggested the third party. The third party could tell you if you're worrying about this for nothing. Sometimes I think that's the case. The nine isn't worried because there is no need to worry. Maybe there's a type 6 worrying about the worst case scenario that's just not worth worrying about. I don't know. And, I'm just not here to help you solve your non-type related problems. If the nine isn't interested in resolving the issue, then neither am I. Especially when I get to the point where I can't even trust that you're just describing the situation reliably to me, because I don't know you, I don't know your situation, I don't know your nine partner. And I might be one of the few nines in the type 9 groups that even has this problem, because like I said, a lot of the nines are INFPs, or, some are INFJs, or INFPs that mistyped as INFJs. Basically a lot of them are feeling types, even there's even a lot of ISFJs, ISFPs. It could just be that, me being one of the few ISTP nines in there, that I have less tolerance for nonsensical stuff like this. Those INFPs and INFJs especially, they want to help people. They kind of naturally want to show sympathy to anyone who comes in asking for help. So, and a lot of them even have experience dealing with the type of difficult person that this other type person seems to be. So they're more eager to give their input from their own personal experience, in the hopes that that it helps, which it very well might. And that's why for them it helps if you tell them what type you are, because then they'll talk about their experiences dealing with that type, which to me just kind of seems like overgeneralizing, because I can't assume that every person of any type is going to behave the same way. I personally think it would be more helpful if you seek help elsewhere for the specific problem you're having, and not try to pin it on type 9s or whatever type you're having problems with. That's just my opinion. I'll just wait to see what other people think about this. So, that's all I have to say for now. But I've been listening. And something. I've been having a lot of sneeze bloopers, haven't I? Let me try that again. My wife just texted me, "Bless you." Apparently she heard me through these walls.